Yeah. Okay, well, I'm here to talk about the recent convention we had in Rochester. Now, this is the convention we're trying to beat next year, okay? And I think we're gonna do it. I think Tage is right on. We're gonna do it better. All right. And there's no flights in this one, so I had no adventure. It's an enjoyable convention. A lot of people were there. I think I didn't go to the one in Long Island a year ago, but there was a very good attendance. As we said, a couple hundred, roughly, with the spouses involved, with guests involved. So what you're looking at there is the nice little handbook that we get to tell us all of the activities you're gonna have. So I woke up, actually, this is where I stayed overnight at Tom's house. I left my house in the Portland area, drove down to Exeter, New Hampshire, stayed overnight, and Tom and I then drove out to Rochester, but we stopped off at Syracuse for 2 great operating sessions on Thursday. At Bill Brown's. This is Bill Brown's gorgeous layout. Bill is in this picture here with this old man there. And Tom and I operated on the HO scale layout, which is the narrow gauge railroad on top. He has a nice HO layout in the bottom, which he runs with his crew other times. But it was really a great time. We were there for 3 hours.
Yep,
We're stuck on page 1 on the Zoom.
stuck on page 1. All right.
Take a break.
That's 2.
Okay,
Keep it like this.
we're gonna keep it like this. Yeah, then I'll flip them.
So you're flipping?
Yeah, I'll be, so let's go back. What page we wanna be on?
This is,
Well, let's back up, because they only saw page 1.
all right. All right.
So you
So
can do
there's
a
the
quick
title.
recap.
Yeah, so we had a great convention. A lot of people. Enjoyed it, long trip, stopped in Rochester, Syracuse to do some layout tours, operating sessions. And Bill Brown's,
Let me flip,
you're gonna flip,
okay.
okay. The next layout we operated on was Drew James. I didn't get any pictures, I was so busy when I got there at Drew's place. He hustled me right down to the yard I was gonna operate on. But, yeah. So I operated in the where you see the yellow one, that was the yard that I operated on. That's Kettle Falls, right? Yeah. Great operating experience. He had a great lineup of trains. A lot of trains are coming through. I had to clear the main occasionally, but I had to put together trains for others to pick up and distribute cars that he brought in from other trains. Okay, flip. This is a hotel. We got there late Thursday evening, just as the welcoming event was ending. We did get a chance to eat some of the pizza, a little on the cold side by that time, but and some sweets. But good welcoming group. So Friday was mostly clinics and a couple of visits to layouts. And now that I can't see those because they are hidden, yeah, so the first 2 clinics I went to on Friday morning were about cars, building cars. And then Tom and I saw in the afternoon a clinic on Mike Tylick's on photography. And then after that, we went to the Donner Pass layout, Peter Darling, 1941. By the way, Chris Oliver was supposed to be here today, but he has a back injury he suffered this morning, so he couldn't drive up today. But
He's online.
is he online right now? Hi, Chris.
He came online.
Chris Oliver has, for those of you who visit, the most fantastic Donner Pass layout. I would have to say Peter Darling's is in 2nd place, but it's very, very good. Very good.
Let me do it.
Okay, you can do it. Yeah. And there it is. And the red line is around Summit. That's Tom and Drew James and the admiring the layout.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Nolix.
And then Nolix, right? Yeah. Right. no helix. And then, Tom and I went over to the Rochester Model Railroad Club Seneca Valley lines. And, that's an old layout too, but it was pretty well conditioned and they had just started operations there. Okay. I didn't go to this one, but Glenn, you did, and took these pictures of Ned Spiller's, Danby, Ludlow, and Springfield Railroad, and I think Tage was there as well, right? Yeah. Okay. And another picture of that layout. Okay. And then Glenn, this is you at the same layout and happy mode, happy face there, having a
Yep.
great time,
We
right?
had a good time there.
Yeah. That's a gorgeous looking layout. I wish I'd been there too.
That area right there that Glenn is standing next to, I was there for 3 hours switching that thing. I had one little tiny 10-minute break. And, they bring cars in, you switch them around. The train leaves, then it comes back again, another train comes in, you gotta do the whole damn thing all over again. the second time. And, I was busy.
And it-
I had no time for anything.
And it keeps your mind off of all the other troubles of the world, right?
Absolutely.
You're focused on having fun. Good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you switch them? Are you using cards?
No, he had,
Switchless.
switch list, yeah, he had no car cards.
Ah,
Yeah, he had a switch list and, you just had to kind of sort it out each,
and define the cars and
Yep.
put them in the right
Yep.
track.
yep,
So
absolutely.
Tage, you want to say anything about Mike, Bizek's layout? You were there. This is your
Yeah,
picture.
This layout was gorgeous. I was fortunate. He had like 6 operators there. And he really only should have had 4, okay? And I volunteered to do the first run. And I was very fortunate because it kept me busy while everybody else was standing around waiting for things to happen.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, this was good. That was a little tricky switching issue there. I had to figure out how to back the cars onto the, right underneath those grain silos there in order to do some set outs and stuff. It was interesting.
This is the cover photo of this summer's coupler. So if you want to see a close-up of this, this is on this summer's coupler,
Yeah.
that photograph.
Okay. And a couple other pictures of that layout, different areas.
Yeah, his layout is B&O, here. B&O, and then there's a chunk of it that's the Erie Lackawanna.
Mhm.
And it's got them running side by side right there in the right-hand picture. That mill in the background, that is just gorgeous.
Okay. So, one of the clinics that I really wanted to see, was by Steve King on timetable and train order rules. For those of you who don't know Steve King, he has been a great author. He was a railroader in his heyday, but he was the co-author of 19 East, Coffee Tree, a book produced by the OPSIG, and then he also writes each quarterly in the dispatcher's office of the OPSIG journals. Okay. So many of us are a little bit in awe of timetable and train order. We don't do it enough. But if we wanted to study that thing on the left, we would know how and when we can pull our trains out when we aren't scheduled to go out because we're an extra. And on the right, you'll see stuff that you who are trying to earn your chief dispatcher AP certificate will need to produce schedule and the timeline. Okay. Then the hospitality room here was particularly special. It had tremendous desserts. One of the things we got to think about is getting some good cooks to prepare some great food. And he also offered free drinks. So this particular picture here on the left is on Friday afternoon, noontime. Chris Scafaro offered pizzas to young modelers who were at the convention. His goal was to interview them and have them help him understand what would attract younger people into our hobby and particularly retain them in the hobby. He did invite two old hats, Tom and me,
Young and hard.
young and heart people, to be there to help with the conversation, but
Free pizza usually works.
yeah, it helps.
I
It
wanna
helps.
know if the pizza was any good.
That offline, we'll go offline with that, okay? Oh, back up just a minute. I want to say something else about this room.
Okay,
Right, so on the right picture, it should come up right now. You see, they had a time saver there, a little puzzle on the counter. So it was a unique one for us. It had 7 or 8 revenue cards. And you had a little card for each one of them. You'd shuffle the cards up, put them on the table, lay them out, 5 of them out, and that's what you had to then move these physical cards in that order. So you had a little chance to play switching. Again, a nice idea.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, moving on. In the interchange room, which is kind of a all things room, we had a little bit of a mini train show. We had a operating layout, modular layout there on the right. Some vendors came in. This is the mini prints. People, if anybody sees the advertisements and magazines now, mini prints, they will make you a model of yourself in HO scale. You can put it on that. And Tom has been thinking about this for a long time. And I said, Tom, get up there. And he had a cane that day. I think that would have been a fantastic model.
Did not do it all.
So the Fremo guys are really neat, and I think we're gonna have them, Paige, we're gonna have them at our convention coming up next September, right? At Concord Flyer. So I practiced on it Saturday afternoon. They're very good pilots, not that I needed one, but for the people who didn't know how to switch, they were good, had good pilots there. And it ran very well. Okay, oh, this little table here to the lower right was set up for people to give mini clinics. But I didn't see many clinics happening.
There were a few,
Mhm.
but it wasn't scheduled.
Now, that's an idea we tried at the Laconia thing, and we actually pulled that off in Laconia. But they were more scheduled, more routinized, I
We're gonna
think.
do those mini clinics on Thursday.
Okay,
That's
okay, next slide, please. Oh, the other way. Now, oh, okay, so this is another view of that room. You can see Southerner Green modelers over their supply. He was selling stuff, none of interest to me on a potato-based railroad, but in the very far corner, I want to show you something that was very interesting to me. Next slide, please. This guy, Brian Weiss, he's a software engineer, and he's taken radio frequency ID tags and sensors. And he's I wish I could have do this slide thing actively because it has a sequence, but anyway, and a little bit of motion. So basically, this is a reader, and it reads these little tags. These are passive chips. So you put the reader underneath the track. When the car goes, whoops, did I do that? I did that. Okay. When the car goes over with that chip over the sensor, he has a computer hooked up to it, and this is where his software engineering comes in. He programs when that message comes up from the chip, the computer says, okay, this is a tank car, or this is a hopper car, or whatever, and it then says, okay, are you empty or are you full? Are you supposed to dump here or are you supposed to load here? And what happens is, so this is a tank car, again, it's hard to see, I'm sorry. But it is now filling up in this particular thing, and if this were live, I could show you, that screen actually goes up from 0 to 100%. Then you pull it to another location. Now here's the hopper car, it's loading there under this tipple-like building. And then when it goes over to the power plant, the screen there shows the coal dropping into the power plant. Now, I don't think any of us are ever going to do something like that, But just keep in mind, RFIDs technology may be something else you're going to use for locating your cars if you're trying to keep,
Isn't that what Oliver does with his layout?
I'm not sure. No. Yeah, could be. Okay. So anyway, this guy is just in the hobby side of this thing. It's not commercial yet, but the technology of RFID, I think, has some potential going forward.
Let me do it.
Okay, I'm sorry. So this is another layout that Glenn and I and Ken Muller, that's Ken in the picture there, operated on Saturday morning. This one is a smaller layout, 2 crews of 2 people each. Ran this railroad. It's based upon New England scenery, and in fact, those 2 circles are marking 2 iconic New Hampshire scenes. Anybody want to guess?
Can't quite see it.
Yeah, it's too small, isn't it? It's Frankenstein trestle and the what's the yeah, Crawford Lodge. Yeah, near Crawford Lodge. And what's the house that what they had? Willie, thank you. Couldn't remember that. The Willie House, right? Yeah. And the other thing about this particular layout is we actually restaged as we moved our cars in. We moved our cars into the end of the thing, and he pulled out boxes and put them all in a restage, and we went back out in the line. Okay. Then Tom, you want to talk about your excursion here?
We had a full day excursion from west of Rochester on out to Medina, where there was a big railroad museum, a huge railroad museum, which was wonderful. So we had about an hour there and then back on the train and back home. And there were a couple stops and run-bys and photos.
And
Let me do it.
I'm sorry.
This was the museum, about 200-foot freight house.
With an HO layout in it.
With an HO layout,
Wow.
you know, at least 50, 60 feet wide, so, and just huge.
Okay, then the banquet. We had a table, Paul was the only one that was left out, sorry, Paul. I don't know if we had any other Seacoast Division members there, but, and we borrowed Chris Cafaro, who's a Green Mountain Division guy. But it was fun, a really good social event at the banquet. And next slide. So, one of the things we want to accomplish there was to advertise and promote a Concord Flyer. So I'm on the publicity committee, Chris Cafaro was on the publicity committee, and Chris comes up with this wonderful idea. We got to make a presentation at the banquet to advertise our upcoming convention, but we don't want to put people to sleep. We got to do something different. And he did. He came up with a script. So what you see in Chris's hand here is a.
Oh, you did that.
I did that. Yeah.
A
Okay.
bottle.
Yeah. A bottle of suspicious looking dark liquid. And he seems tipsy. And he's expressing he's under tremendous stress. He was really nervous, and he invites Tage to come up, and he presents Tage to us all. And Tage says, "What's wrong, Chris? What's wrong? I'm worried, I'm stressed." Well, Tage says, "How are we going to help you out?" So one of the answers, Tage then goes through a litany of wonderful things he could be doing in Concord area in New Hampshire next September. They would take away a lot of that stress. And eventually, Tage does this wonderful presentation and tells everybody why they need to come next year to Concord. And at the end, Tage looks at the bottle, and I didn't do anything.
That was me, I'm sorry. Come too soon.
He looks at the bottle and he says, "Chris, if you keep drinking all that tea, you're never going to sleep tonight." So anyway, I thought it was a very remarkable presentation, not like we've ever had, especially the one we had for the Long Island.
Oh, yeah, that
Years
was
ago.
amazing.
Oh, geez. Okay, so that was that, and then we had a wonderful keynote speaker, a young guy named Mark Klingel, who was in the Coast Guard, 28 years old. He's written 3 books on railroads, prototypes, 3. I just happened to find that one, railroads that built the Finger Lakes. So he talked about the structures of railroading in that area. Wasn't of keen interest to me, but just his enthusiasm and his sense of history from a 28-year-old. And it was really charming for me. Okay, so Sunday we had the awards breakfast. Of course, Tom took away almost all the awards. Tom, you got your official and certificate and a couple of other things. You want to talk about that?
Can I put a plug in for the achievement program? And so this was official, the one I just got, and I want to talk about the official. So if there are the official AP certificate is for those who volunteer, who serve on the board. And the board has directors. They have all the superintendents, presidents, but then they have northern, southern, eastern, western, and I'm the northern director. And so if you put in so many years as a director, you get official. So I'm just telling you now that I'm going to be stepping down in a few years. We're looking for, you know, an official, a volunteer to go onto the board to, it's really a fun group of people out there to join and be on that board.
It's Tom's talking about the NER board, not the Seacoast.
Yeah, so the NER board, thanks. And so just, that's available, in a few years, looking for a, person to serve on that board.
Yeah.
And get official.
And you don't have to travel for it because it's almost always on Zoom. And there's other NER level role to play. You could be the treasurer, you could be the president, you could be the vice president, so you could get official those ways as well.
If you're looking at the official certificate, and you're on our level at the Seacoast Division, you have to be the president for 3 years, or you can be on the NER board for 3 years.
Yep. Okay,
Could I ask what NER is?
Northeastern region.
Ah,
You are a member.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He's not an NMRA member. He's here as a guest
yes.
and he's gonna sign up before he leaves this room.
Well, I already signed up to get.
Okay, let's move it. Okay, so, you know, that little, you can't see it now because it's so small, but basically, around when we go to layouts in the northeastern region, NER, we see these wonderful welcome signs out there, telling us that there's a layout here to be visited. Tom and I on the way back, to our homes stopped here at, Richard Here's, and he has a wonderful, wonderful layout based upon the Boston and Maine. And we took a look at that, and I learned something in this one.
Oh, flip it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please. I don't have a layout that I'm going to be using a interlocking tower. Richard does, and I was looking down at it and I saw that there were 6 rods coming out of the tower. But I can only see 3 switches. That's when I said, aha, you need 2 rods for every switch. A yin and yang. Okay, so I learned. He did a great job. It looks extraordinarily realistic.
Where was this?
Detailed in
This is in Richard,
Syracuse.
it's here. Yeah, yes, yeah. Okay, so that is our time. We got back in a reasonable time. We drove, we had the control of the schedule in our hands. And we're looking forward to doing the same thing, a little bit better in Concord.